Welcome to this another episode of Conversation with Ashok Malik. It's been a very interesting week. On Sunday, we saw the BJP expand, or rather, the new president Rajnath Singh reconstitute his team. A lot of people are calling its team 2014 targeted towards the general elections. We saw Narendra Modi being re-inducted in the Central Committee. Also, a lot of leaders near to him being included in the party's central leadership. Ashok, to begin with, as an overview, how do you read the developments?
Well, there are two or three things one has to note. One, the BJP's generational change, which should ideally have taken place in one shot in 2004, has been a slow, wrenching process, as is often the case in our country, where people don't really retire in a hurry. So that has been reflected in this, that generational change has been reflected in this reshuffle, because a number of 30-somethings and early 40-somethings have come into post of prominence, replacing the 60 and 70-somethings. Okay, and frankly, that is where the energy lies. That is where your party infrastructure has to be run by younger people. That goes for any organization. So, for example, this is just an example. Smriti Irani has become vice president. She was in the running for general secretary. She's a high-profile party functionary now. She's about 38 years old, and which is better than someone who's 68 years old. That's one. Second, Narendra Modi's ascension in the party hierarchy, the recognition that he is not just an ordinary chief minister for the BJP, but is first among equals, or maybe a little more than first among equals, and is a regional leader with a national profile, or increasingly a national leader perhaps with a regional designation. That has become apparent. His stamp is visible on this reshuffle. It's not dominant because other factions, other groups have also found their say, but it is obvious.
But I mean, a lot of people are speaking about his, I mean, as you mentioned, his stamp is evident. Inclusion of Amit Shah, controversial former Home Minister from Gujarat. Then, of course, Smriti Irani, you mentioned her. A lot of people mention, raise this question, why her, why not Nirmala Sitharaman, perhaps?
Well, actually, I understand one of the gaps in this new team is that there is no female general secretary. The general secretary, as you know, in a party is the most important rung, and they're all men, which is a big gap. 50% of your population is female, and there's not one woman. Both Smriti Irani and Nirmala Sitharaman were in the running for a general secretary slot. Perhaps both deserved it, and that is certainly a gap which needs to be addressed. They're both very talented people, and they're both, I think, very good for the party. They both work very hard for the party. Smriti Irani has.
But Irani is known to be more near to Modi, isn't it? I mean, her Rajya Sabha MP
that's not,
seat as well.
She's from Gujarat, yes. But to be fair, Nirmala also went to Gujarat during the elections and worked. I don't think Nirmala Sitharaman is hostile to Modi or something. She's, I mean, and you know, find me one person in the BJP today who will say he or she is not close to Modi or is opposed to Modi. You may find the odd person, but he is clearly the rising star. Everyone wants to be seen as not hostile to him. So I don't think you'll find a single person here who will actively say, I'm not in Modi's camp, or I'm anti-Modi or something. Amit Shah has been close to Modi for years. Now, you must look at it from he is facing cases, I agree. But this is not a government position, this is a party position. Amit Shah is a very resourceful, very talented politician who's been very useful for the BJP. Others may not like him, that they have a right to, but he has been useful to the party. The party, in his wisdom, feels that the cases against him are exaggerated and fabricated, and that the CBI, in conjunction with the UPA government, is trying to frame him. Maybe they are right, maybe they are wrong. I'm not going into that. The courts will decide. But the party has a right to feel that way. And it feels it wants to use his talent, and he is a talented politician. There's no question about that. He's a great organizer. Even his detractors say that. It wants to use it in the party organization. I think they have a right to.
But you mentioned about the generational shift that's taken place. But many of these people, apart from a few known like Smriti Irani and others, or Amit Shah because of his cases, a lot of them seem to be, I mean, nationally unknown.
But isn't that the case with, any newcomer into a political system? How many people knew, just as an example, Meenakshi Natarajan before Rahul Gandhi promoted her? I'm not going into how successful she's been otherwise, but that is what happens. The BJP has a lot of talent in the states, as do as does the Congress, to be fair. Okay, but increasingly, given our media-driven politics, only 30 people in Delhi get noticed.
True.
And this is true for all parties, not just true for the BJP or the Congress. And that is really, it's a bit of a shame, because the BJP is in power in about 6 or 7 states: Karnataka, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Goa, and Bihar. It was in power recently in Jharkhand. Will probably come back to power in Rajasthan. So that's 7 or 8 states. There is surely talent in these states, apart from just the chief minister or chief ministerial candidate. And that has to be reflected in Delhi, in national politics, or in the larger structure of the party. And this goes for all parties. This is not just true for the BJP. It could be true for the CPM or whatever. So the party at some point has to promote new talent. Some of that talent will succeed, some will fail. But it's a gamble that has to be taken.
You mentioned about how Narendra Modi's camp, if I may use that word, there's a major imprint on the reshuffle in that sense.
Narendra Modi's influence is now becoming obvious.
Yeah.
Because look, he is the only chief minister who's on the National Parliamentary Board.
True.
Okay.
True.
There are 5 or 6 chief ministers, but he's the only one, and they're all capable. Many of them are capable multi-term chief ministers, but he's the only one. So I think the party somehow or somewhere recognizes that he is not just an ordinary chief minister, but he's more than an ordinary chief minister.
So in that case, can we say that Rajnath Singh's team is actually Narendra Modi's team?
His imprint is there, but Mr. Advani has pushed in a few people. I mean, Sushma Swaraj has pushed in a few people. Any wide spectrum party, again,
one person has missed out is Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad. It's nowhere there.
Well, he's a deputy leader in the Rajya Sabha, so some could argue. No, you can't fit in everybody. To be fair, that doesn't mean someone is opposed to him. Some people do miss out. Okay. Also, do remember that while he's been a good spokesperson, this is running around and running up, the party office, the party infrastructure is generally the job of younger people. Generally speaking, in India, of course, if you're 70 years old, a youth leader, which is ridiculous. But generally speaking, this should be done by the 30, 40 somethings in both the Congress and the BJP and the CPM. In fact, if you looked at the Samajwadi Party, for better or worse, Akhilesh's campaign was run by 30 or 40 somethings. They may be nowhere in the picture now, because once government has been formed, the same old guard takes over. But the energy, the running around, the actual backroom work is done by younger people, generally speaking, in politics. I'd say both the Congress and the BJP, which are both such wide parties, cannot have the imprint of one person entirely. If someone tells me that the entire team of the Congress is chosen by Sonia Gandhi alone, it would be unfair. Her imprint is obviously there, but other factions, other leaders have their say in 1 or 2 names here or there, and that is clear here as well. The RSS has put in some people, the various stakeholders have put in people, Advani has put in some people, but Modi's imprint is also there.
But what do you make of, this is going around in media about Shivraj Chauhan versus Narendra Modi, that has been
my understanding is Shivraj Chauhan is a multi-term chief minister, 2 terms now. Raman Singh is a 2-term chief minister. Manohar Parrikar is now a 2-term chief minister, though he didn't finish his first term, and he was in the running to become party president some years ago. Jagdish Shettar has just become chief minister. He's a senior politician, but he's probably going to lose Karnataka. Sorry. Then you have someone like Vasundhara Raje Scindia, who is probably going to become chief minister for a second time, and is a strong state leader. Now, all of these people have a strong state base. They may win, they may lose, but they are strong leaders. I think the party recognizes that Modi, perhaps because he's a 3-term chief minister, is senior to them. Okay. And for the moment, carries a little more weight and has a slightly wider national appeal. It may change in 2 or 3 years. Okay. Maybe Shivraj will emerge, or maybe Vasundhara will emerge, or maybe Raman Singh will emerge. So that's fine. But for the moment, the party is betting on Modi.
Ashok,
because you have to bet on one person at the end of the day.
Okay. Ashok, what about this? You mentioned that it's not a wave, but there seems to be a momentum towards Narendra Modi, and we have seen a lot of leaders, otherwise being fence eaters, but suddenly have been talking about Narendra Modi as the future leader or a possible prime minister candidate. So are people now started have this sort of build up already started to 2014 in terms of?
See, there are 2, 3 things here. One, within the BJP. Within the BJP, there is now a recognition that the NDA experience was very good for the BJP. It won the BJP a lot of allies, especially after the early 90s, when after the Ayodhya episode, the BJP was without allies. And then slowly we had only the Shiv Sena, then the Akalis, and it built, finally Atal Bihari Vajpayee headed a coalition of 24 parties. Okay? So the so-called untouchability factor completely vanished. The NDA experience was good for the BJP. It brought the party into power, gave it 2 terms in office, one for 1 year, one for 5 years, and gave it state governments. But the party also plateaued. Okay, because it stopped growing. Karnataka was one exception, but otherwise the party stopped growing. If you look at Andhra Pradesh, for example, the party actually was stronger there than it was in Karnataka in the 80s.
Okay.
It had an MP from Andhra Pradesh way back in 1980 or 84. In Andhra Pradesh, from 80, I think. In fact, even in 84. But after which it vanished because it won 4 seats on its own in 98. But once Telugu Desam came in as a partner, you, for reasons of national politics, you surrender space to the partner, which is what has happened in Bihar as well. So there are people in the party who feel that the party's individual strength has been sacrificed for the larger coalition, which is a legitimate belief for them to have. Many in the Congress feel the same way about some of their coalition partners. And the Congress has various points that said we need to grow on our own. And so these national parties go through this. There is a feeling in the party that after Vajpayee, we finally have a face and a leader with an appeal in Narendra Modi, whether you like him or you don't, who can maximize our own potential. So it's a gamble worth taking. That's what the party feels. Or that's what many people in the party feel, more people than earlier. Second, if you look outside the party, outside the sort of stakeholders and the support group of the BJP, for the fence sitters or the traditionally non-BJP people, there is a sense of disquiet with the UPA government, because it frankly has performed below par and has not lived up to the very strong mandate it won in 2009. The economy looks in trouble. Sentiment and dispiritedness is obvious. Sentiment is low, dispiritedness is obvious. There seems to be a leadership vacuum. So people feel. May or may not be true, but people have a right to feel that way. In this situation, there are people who are turning to Modi as a possible alternative. Okay? Whether there are enough people of this nature, whether they will sweep him to power or not, remains to be tested. I can't tell. But in my own experience, while meeting people, I have encountered a lot of people who have previously not voted for the BJP and would not have dreamt of voting for the BJP or supporting Narendra Modi a few years ago, who today, given the state of the country, given the state of governance, the paralysis of governance, feel maybe Modi deserves a chance. Okay. Now, how many such people there are, whether they will actually vote, whether their votes will translate into a majority or not, I don't know. But there is certainly a curiosity and interest in him, which was absent 2-3 years ago.
One last question. Interestingly, immediately after this whole reshuffle, there have been talks about, VHP gave a statement saying that they want a Hindu Rashtra in Gujarat by 2050.
They want a Hindu state in Gujarat.
In Gujarat by 2050. Now, my question is not that. My question is that a lot of narratives and the rhetorics that's coming from Gujarat now seems to put Narendra Modi aside from the rest of the right-wing forces, right-wing parties like VHP or Bajrang Dal. And why even Madhu Kishwar's piece speaks about how VHP or Bajrang Dal might have been involved in the riots, but Narendra Modi is separate from them. So there seems to be a separation between Narendra Modi, the individual, and the right-wing forces.
Okay, 2-3 things. One, 2002, I'd like to separate the riots of 2002 from the political mood and the elections of 2002. I have no evidence, and the successive investigations have produced no evidence that Narendra Modi was personally involved in getting, in conducting acts of violence or promoting acts of violence, or were personally culpable through acts of commission or deliberate omission in getting people injured or killed or whatever. I have no evidence to that. The courts have, the SIT and various investigations have not revealed that. However, there was a polarized mood and a very nasty mood and a very nasty election fought in 2002, which was, as an Indian, I felt very uncomfortable.
Okay.
In my experience, it has been one of the two most uncomfortable elections I have experienced. One was 84 and one was 2002, because this was not the India which you wanted. 84 was not the India I wanted, despite Rajiv's the sense of optimism one found with Rajiv, and 2002 was also a nasty election in that sense. Modi benefited from that mood. The VHP helped create that mood as well. So in that sense, they were allies in 2002. But I think Modi, as a clever politician, realized one thing. He realized that if his focus was only on identity politics and only on Hindutva and Hindu issues, then he won in 2002, but by 2007 he would have lost. I think he realized he had to change the mood. He had to start talking about other things, go on to another story. And he also realized that a polarized mood of that nature and possible violence was not going to help him, not going to help Gujarat. It wasn't going to help anyone. And it was certainly not going to win him a second election. So he sort of moved from Hindu identity to a sort of more wholesome Gujarati identity. And started talking about the politics of aspiration and growth.
5 crore Gujarati.
5 crores Gujarati, economic growth, okay, let's become prosperous. And, if you've noticed, when do people riot? When do people, and this is historically, this is across the world, not just, this is as true for the American South as it is for Gujarat or UP or whatever. You people, I start killing you or beating you up or coming to your house and hitting your family when the cost of doing that is very low. When I'm not worried about the police, or when I lose nothing. Okay, I have no job to lose, but if I have an economic cost to pay in resorting to violence of this nature, I will back away. So as societies move towards becoming middle class and more prosperous, there is a negative sort of reason. There's a negative factor which causes you not to resort to such direct action of violence, because it just becomes too costly, and also your sense of prejudice, you overcome the sense of prejudice which you had, because other things drive you. Economic growth drives you, aspiration drives you, your mood changes. One has seen this in America, for instance. If you look at the 1920s or 1910s, look at the white supremacism or the Ku Klux Klan. Who were the people who were members of the Ku Klux Klan? They were all good middle class people. The town doctor, the town physician, the town lawyer, the town police chief, all good, upright people who prayed to God, did not break their promises, paid their loans on time, but just had this crazy prejudice about the man of color. Now, as societies evolved, economically and socially and educationally, that you overcame that prejudice. Today, the grandson of the Ku Klux Klan doctor of the 1920s probably dates a woman of color and is embarrassed by frankly, the bigotry his grandfather may have practiced. And I think that is a broad process of social engineering, which, whether he planned it that way or not, Modi has triggered.
Okay.
And I don't think that is given sufficient recognition.
Okay.
Because I do believe the chances of a large-scale riot in Gujarat today
Minimum.
are smaller than they were 20 years ago. Now one has to ask why. Because the people are the same. The conditions are the same. The conditions are not the same, sorry. The people are the same. The proportion of population is the same. What has changed? This is a question and this is not a question we can answer in one day.
True.
We may answer it in 20 years. But one has to ask that question. And I think Modi has had a small role in that, which we should recognize.
Thanks a lot for talking to us.